Hello everyone, today I'm going to be doing a tournament report for 3 different League Cups that I played Pidgeot Control at. I played 1 cup last weekend, and then I played 2 this weekend. So I'm going to be telling you guys the list and all of the matchups. And yeah, so let's get into it. So this is the list I played at the cup last weekend. For the most part, it's just a pretty standard Grand Prix Pidgeot list. Uh, Nothing too special in here. I did have to play one of the bad Pidgeotos, just because I couldn't find 2 of the good ones. But other than that, it's kind of just pretty standard. I am playing 2 flutes as well, because I feel like flute is a very versatile card right now, especially since a majority of your matchups you're winning by Saw Block. I ended up playing Radiant Serena as my Radiant Pokemon, and after the tournament, I kind of just decided that Radiant Alakazam is probably just the better Radiant Pokemon. Radiant Serena is really good into Gardevoir, but Radiant Alakazam is great into Dragapult. So yeah, here's the list. Also, I'm playing the Diancie instead of the Giacomo for the Lugia tech. I feel like Diancie is probably just a lot better into Lugia. But here were the matchups. I ended up winning the cup. Round 1, I hit Zard. This was kind of an interesting Zard list. There was no Dusknoir. It was just straight Zard with Pidgeot. It also played like 2 Regigigas as well, which was interesting, and he also had 2 switches. So I ended up just winning by saw blocking a Zard with no energies in the active spot. Kind of just had to assume he had, since both switches were down, he had no outs left to get out of retreat lock. Round 2, I hit Archelodon, a matchup I was expecting to be somewhat tough. However, I found out during the match my opponent did not play Thornton. So I was able to just set up a saw block on a Relicanth with my Milotic in play, and since he did not have Thornton, there is no way out of that, so I ended up just winning. Round 3, I hit Gardevoir, which should be a very good matchup, but I kind of just misplayed in this matchup because in best of 1 with 30 minutes, you have to play super fast with control so that you don't tie. So I misplayed pretty hard here. I forgot I was confused at one point, and I announced attack, and then flip tails with confusion. So that kind of threw me the game, but I was eventually able to set up another saw block play on a Monkey Dory with my Milotic in play. And yeah, I set up Saw Block on Monkey Dory. However, my Silene and Defiance Vest were both prized, so I was not able to get down to a to where Monkey Dory could infinitely be trapped. So the Monkey Dory was essentially doing 40 damage each turn, since I would heal 20 with Serena every turn. So I was eventually going to lose. However, my opponent said, let's just tie. We're not going to have enough time to finish anyways. So I took the tie. Played that one pretty poorly. However, Gardevoir, I think, is a very good matchup. And it was probably very winnable if I had played a bit better. Round 4, I hit a Lugia. I was able to set up a Blood Moon loop by knocking out all of the Chinchinos and then just Blood Moon looping. However, we went to time, and then and my opponent's last turn before time, it was turn 2, and I had 1 prize left. He put an Archeops in the active spot with Legacy Energy, and if you look at my list, I do not play any switch outs, so I needed to reset my Blood Moon by getting it out of the active spot and play Boss at the same time. However, since there was no switch, I could not do that, so I ended up just tying. If I had switch or Jet Energy, which I ended up adding to the second list, I would have won that one because I had Lumineon for boss and then Quick Search for the switch, and I would have had it. However, I ended up tying. I'm 202. I need to win this last round for Top Cut, and I hit another Lugia. So my opponent this game prized both Minchinos, which is very important for the Lugia matchup. You really need those Chinchinos, so prizing both of them was pretty unfortunate for him. And not only that, but my flutes were able to bench lock him into 4 bench Pokemon, so he could only summon 1 Archeops, and as soon as he did that, I immediately knocked it out with Diancie, and then just Blood Moon looped from there. So I'm 302 going into Top Cut. So in my top 4 match, I hit the same Guardy player as earlier. Game 1, I was able to set up a Saw Block on a Monkey Dory with my Lodic on the bench, and that was pretty much game, since I was able to get Defiance Vest on the Ogerpon and then Radiant Serena on the bench, so my opponent scooped. Game 2, I full bricked. I started Feebas and I passed until I lost. And then game 3, I was able to set up Saw Block very early on. However, my opponent was able to take 1 prize card before the before I set up Saw Block. So he was just playing for a tie at this point, or not a tie because if we go into time, whoever has the more prize cards would win. So he was just trying to wait for time to be called so that then he could get the win, even though I had him locked eventually. So I was just playing super fast, trying to play aggressively with my 0-6 so the Ionos would refill less of the deck, and I barely won. There were like 2 minutes left before time was called. Um, but in the end, I did end up getting that one. And then round 7, this is finals against Archelodon. Same Archelodon player as earlier. Game 1, I pretty much opened Pidgey and a dead hand. Uh, so I just passed turn 1, and then turn 2, I top decked Grand Tree. However, I could not Grand Tree into my Pidgeot because both of my Pidgeots were stuck in hand. So I passed again. I just Grand Treed into a Pidgeotto and then passed, and then my opponent got the donk. So game 2, I got really behind on prizes, and I pretty much couldn't see a win condition. I couldn't find any way to win the game because I was so far behind. However, I played an Erica to try and buy some time, and I hit a Duraludon. And I also saw my opponent had Turo in hand. To Turo hit Squawkabilly off the board. However, my opponent just passed and didn't Turo the Squawk. I didn't have my Lodoc in play at this point. I think he was probably thinking there was no reason to Turo it because I would just Erica again, and then the Squawkabilly would uh, be back on the board, since there was no way for him to discard it in hand. So he just passed, and then the next turn I was able to evolve my Feebas into my Lodoc, counter pressure up the Squawkabilly, and start retreat locking. And I ended up locking him out of game 2. And in game 3, pretty much the same thing happened. I was able to just retreat lock a Squawkabilly with my Lodoc on the bench. So yeah, I won most all of my matches in this cup with retreat locking, and then of course against the Lugias, I won with Blood Moon Loop. But I ended up winning the cup here. Um, and yeah, so the next weekend, I decided just I have 2 cups this weekend, one on Saturday, one on Sunday, and I decided to just play Control again. I switched the list up a little bit. The first thing I changed, I switched Radiant Serena for Radiant Alakazam because Radiant Serena is very good against Guardy because one of Guardy's main plans in that matchup, once you retreat lock them, is just Monkey Dory spam your Milotic until it dies, and the Radiant Serena heals off that damage, so the Monkey Dory strategy doesn't really work. Um, However, we're playing Picnic Basket instead of the Serena, kind of for the same purpose. It's not as good, but it still gets the job done, um, because we need to play Radiant Alakazam as our Radiant Pokemon. Radiant Alakazam is really good for the Colt matchup, because we can Black Kyurem lock them, and then use Alakazam to set up multi-prize knockouts. And then the only other change I made was I switched a Mist Energy for a Jet Energy, just because I really wanted to switch out. There were multiple games in this cup that a switch out would have really helped me. Um, and most of the time, you don't really care about Mist Energy blocking effects. It's kind of just another energy to use. So in both of the cups, having only one Mist was perfectly fine. I think this is probably the best energy count for Control. So cup 1, round 1, I got a no-show. My opponent didn't come to the table, and I asked the judge where he was, and the judge said my opponent was running late, so I would get a free win essentially. So while I had the round 1 win, I was walking around seeing what everyone else was playing, and I noticed there was a lot of Gardevoir in Miraidon, and pretty much everything was a good matchup except for like one Raging Bolt player. In round 2, of course, I hit the Raging Bolt, which is, um, which was probably my worst matchup in the room. I think Raging Bolt is a very bad matchup for my build of the deck. However, I prized my one of Rare Candy, but I still had Arven for Nestwall for Sealstone the second turn. I think I was going first, probably. Yeah, I was going first, I'm pretty sure. So I had Arven for Nestwall for Sealstone to get Grand Tree, but turn 2, I top decked my second Pidgeot. So I had both of my Pidgeots in hand, so I couldn't even Grand Tree into Pidgeot. Pidgeot was the worst card I could top deck, since it was the only card that I could top deck that would prevent me from getting Pidgeot that turn. So I just had to Grand Tree into Pidgeotto and pass. My opponent flipped tails on a catcher. Otherwise, he would have been able to knock out the Pidgeotto. And I think that's kind of just if he had flipped heads, I would have just lost on the spot, I think. But I ended up evolving into my Pidgeot, and then I ended up just winning the match by knocking out Slitherwing with my Pidgeot, and then the next turn when he didn't recover it, he Night Stretcher for like an energy instead, I think. I was just able to Flute to bring something out and lock him out of Mimikyu, and then I just got down to lone Mimikyu. So kind of lucky to win that matchup. I feel like Bolt is a pretty bad matchup for Pidgeot Control, but I am now 2-0. Round 3, I'm playing on stream this time. The store was streaming Table 1 every single match, so I ended up playing on stream, like, 3 times in this tournament. So I'm playing on stream against Miraidon, which, um, my opponent was not playing Zapdos, so I just bench locked out of Zapdos just to play around it. I bench locked him with the Flutes, and then got down to Mimikyu with Mist Energy and Defiance Vest, which, won me the game. So um, I ended up beating Miraidon. I'm 3-0. Going into round 4, I'm still not. So my opponent and I kind of determined that ID was more than likely safe. However, we would probably have to. Uh, we would probably get down paired against a 3-1, and if we lose that, we might bubble out of cut since it's just a top 4 cut. So we ended up playing it out because as long as we win one of the next 2 matches, we're in. So it was probably safer to just play it out anyways. So it was Guardy, which is a pretty solid matchup for me. I was able to just set up my Lodic stop block. Round 5, I'm 4-0 at this point. I hit a friend of mine playing Archelodon, and he wanted me to scoop so he could get to top cut. And I didn't really want to. I wanted to play it out because if I beat him here, top cut would be 2 Miraidons and a Gardevoir, so very good matchups. However, I just wanted, so I decided to just be nice and scoop to him, and then I hit him in top cut. I bricked game 1, and then game 2, he um, kind of just found everything. I did make a small misplay game 2 by attaching double turbo to my Ogerpon. I was saw blocking early on just to buy some time. I should have attached Jet though. That would have been better. But either way, I ended up losing. So I probably should have just tried to win round 5 because there was really no punishment for doing that. But I just didn't want to be mean and knock him out of top cut. So, I ended up getting punished for it in top 4. Uh, then League Cup number 2, I got top 4 again, which was kind of frustrating because like top 4 is not awful, but I need first place to get the points for the World's Invite. But round 1, I hit a Lugia. I was able to just use Diancie to knock out Chinchinos, and then I set up a Blood Moon loop. However, in the last turn my opponent had before time, he promoted Blood Moon instead of Archeops. If he had promoted Archeops, we would have tied, but promoting the Blood Moon that already had damage on it allowed me to win the game. So kind of got a bit lucky there. My opponent played pretty well overall, though. Um, I think he played the matchup pretty perfectly. And then round 2, I hit another Lugia, but this one was playing like Terapagos and then some Noctowls, so very interesting list. But I was just able to set up Blood Moon Loop again. So I'm 2-0. Round 3, I hit Archelodon Dialga. There was no Thornton in here, so I just won by Retreat Lock with my Lodic. And then something I didn't mention, this store is actually like, I hate to say it, but this store is kind of really bad. The last time I came here for a League Cup, they almost cheated me out of a top cut because um, they told us there would be 4 Swiss rounds and no top cut. So after I lost my last Swiss round, they said, "Oh, never mind, there is a top cut after all." And I could have ID'd my last round, but instead I pretty much just wasted $30 and didn't get into top cut, which kind of upset me a little bit. But I thought that I would give the store another chance and come back. But clearly they clearly messed up again, so I'm not going back to the store again. But anyways, they said there would be 4 Swiss rounds and then top cut. They said it is guaranteed there would be 4 Swiss rounds. There would not be a 5th Swiss round. So I ID'd here against Raging Bolt, and then they said, "Oh, never mind. There is a fifth Swiss round." So I ended up having to play. I had to play out the fifth Swiss round, and if I lost this round, I more than likely would have not even gotten top cut at all, despite going 3-0 and then IDing, thinking that there would be 4 Swiss rounds. So I was kind of mad about that, especially since beating the Dragapult Dusknoir. Um, like I should have hit something other than Zard in top 4 if they hadn't have made that mistake, and I would have also played out this round against Raging Bolt most likely, but, I mean, it's kind of just whatever. I beat Dragapult Dusknoir, and then, in the last round I hit Zard, which is a near auto loss for my deck. So, yeah, kinda disappointed with how that tournament went, but, um, I guess that there's nothing I can do about it now, but there you have it, guys. That is my tournament report for 3 League Cups. I ended up getting first place and then 2 top 4s. If you like this video, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time.